Okay, so these gals are so over that song, and so are all my guests, I know, but I had to use it because these are the Ghostbuster gals. I mean, when you are the Ghostbuster gals, you got to use a Ghostbuster song. Cindy Dole, Home Wizards, here having some fun the day before Halloween, and glad to have you guys, Ronnie, Renee Foster, Angel Girl, and Laura Lee Mystikaya. How do you say Mystica? Mystica, witchy woman. And so what do you do? How do you get rid of ghosts? What methods do you use?
Wow, that's a really good question because, we've been ghost busting since 2001, and we have many different methods, but most importantly, sometimes we just have to find out what's keeping the ghosts there. I mean, a lot of people don't even understand what ghosts are, and ghosts are people that for some reason when they crossed and passed on, they did not see the light. They couldn't see the light because they died in fear or anger or jealousy or rage or a lot of those negative emotions. And so they don't get to see the tunnel home. And sometimes there's a lot of unresolved issues, and we need to find out what's keeping them stuck.
So you're almost like therapists for these entities, huh?
Actually, and it's true. And then we have to find a way to communicate with them so that they will cross over and will go see the light. A lot of ghosts don't want to go. Mm-hmm. They're afraid they're going to hell. They're afraid of the unknown, and they're comfortable. And so it's finding something that they can connect with to help them cross over. Sometimes it's as simple as a pet that they had, their pet dog. Sometimes it's their mother or their wife or their child or whatever. And as intuitives and empathics, we can find that out and then find the right thing to cross them over.
Well, let's go to the phone lines with all of you here, all you smart minds. It looks like Susan is on the line calling from Torrance. Hey, Susan, thanks for being patient. What's happening at your mom's house?
Hi. Well, I grew up in, I would say, a haunted house because there's been more than one spirit here that we've seen through the years. It's not only us, but guests that we've had over and things. That there's just one that, in particular, that everybody's seen. He looks like a ringmaster. And he's dressed in a top hat and tails, and you can see white pants and a white vest, but you can't see his feet or anything. But you can. The thing that stands out the most in this man is his eyes.
Susan, where do you see? What part of the house do you see this ringmaster phantom?
He basically goes through the whole house sometimes, but we've mainly seen him in the living room, and my mom's seen him in her bedroom, but it's mainly in the living room.
Is your house an old house, or is it a newer house?
No, it's a very old house. My mom doesn't even know how old it was. When she bought the house, the kids were, the den area where we have the den now was full of dirt because it was unoccupied for a long time, and they were saying the kids would come around and say it was haunted. Oh, you're buying that house, it's haunted.
Mm-hmm. Which is full disclosure, right? You got to reveal that.
Is your house in the flat area, or is it up on the hills?
It's on a flat area.
Okay.
How old is this house, Susan?
They don't seem to know.
They don't know.
My mom doesn't really know how old it was, but she said that it was vacant maybe, how long do you think it was vacant?
Yeah. So I'm wondering if maybe Ghostbuster gals, if they should have a team like you guys come, or do you have psychic mediums or documentary guys, or what? Who do you call?
Here's the cool thing about what we do, Cindy. We're in Washington State, but we've developed a method to ghost bust anywhere in the world from our own living rooms, and so it's kind of like a remote viewing. We can take our consciousness and send it to wherever the ghost is. We've done that in Japan and Canada.
Wow.
They put you on speakerphone or something, and
I do readings sometimes on Skype, which is a neat way I can actually see the person. I can see their aura and stuff. But for this house in Torrance, one thing I wanted to suggest was that it's very possible that at one time that there might have been a circus on those grounds, and the fact that they never see his feet could be that he was up on a platform, and maybe the dirt was graded, so it was lower than when they built the house. Sometimes they bring in fill dirt, and the houses are built higher. I've had that happen many times in investigations I've done. And it might be someone that worked in a circus and he liked his job and loved that part of California, and that's where he comes back,
Yeah, and it may not be the house itself that's haunted. It could, we're in a space right now. We're in a radio station right now, doing this broadcast. But who's to say what was in this same space many years ago in time space? It's a time space.
Does it
anomaly.
feel like this studio is haunted?
I think so, very much.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
I don't know. I would be more apt to say something after I got something on camera. Right. From my perspective.
Well, Ghostbuster gals, do ghosts ever follow you home after you've done the busting? I mean, are you like internalizing it somehow?
Because after we do the busting, they're gone, thank goodness. But we have gone to consultations and have had psychic attacks from ghosts that know we're up to something and don't want us to do our work.
I've had that too, where I'll get lost going to an investigation. They'll get into my consciousness, and I know where the address is, and I'll go around and around, and I won't be able to find it. And then all of a sudden, I say a little prayer, and it opens up, and I get to my place. That happens sometimes too. It's weird.
And ghosts, you made a good point. Ghosts can't follow you.
Yes.
A lot of people don't think that. They think that just the house is haunted. But many years ago, I found that out on an investigation in San Pedro, where we came back to our own homes, and we had furniture moved, gas burners came on, so be aware of that.
But on a positive note, not to interrupt you, Barry, but on a positive note, sometimes I'll do readings for people and I'll introduce them to their spirit guides by name and give a description. And many times the spirits are so elated that I've been able to introduce them to their subject or their family member that after the reading's over, they'll hang out with me and they'll help me help other clients for the next couple of weeks. They'll help their subjects too, but they're so happy to be able to communicate with someone. And those are the positive spirits, certainly not the negative ones, but it's interesting.
Well, Ghost Hunting and Investigated started for Clarissa Vazquez, our next guest who's joining us here, after a picture that she took, speaking of taking videos and so forth, showed something misty. It seemed like a human form. And then, of course, she had the EVP, the electronic voice phenomenon recording. And then, so she thought, you know what, there's something to this. She founded the Colorado Coalition of the Paranormal. And it just so happens she's also an ordained minister. So, thanks for being here, Reverend Clarissa.
Hi, thanks for having me.
So I've got to ask you, I mean, it seems like that's kind of counterintuitive for a lot of people who might say, we aren't supposed to think about ghosts if we're religious, but here you are, you're both. You're investigating ghosts and you're an ordained minister. How does that work?
It does seem kind of contradictory, actually, but there are actually a lot of similarities in a lot of ways where you can tie in paranormal occurrences with different aspects of religion and different passages in the Bible. So if you look at it from a different perspective other than the traditional teachings, they are intertwined.
Mm-hmm.
And as I told you earlier, I'm Catholic, and I'm still Catholic and a psychic medium, and I read for priests and nuns and even a pope, so she's right.
And is it true, Clarissa, that your license plate reads GST HNTR?
That is my license plate, yes.
I love how you guys have a sense of humor about this. But what happens in your ghost hunts and investigations? What are some of the memorable ones?
Oh, we've had investigations run the gamut from the what we call the traditional, where we go in and we're able to debunk or find naturally occurring explanations for everything that's going on, to the stuff that we get really excited about, where at best we get poltergeist activity. At the worst, we get demonic activity, which we do not like having to deal with, but we do have a really good organized spirit team on our team that is prepared to go to battle if we need to. But we get everything from EVP to a little bit of poltergeist activity to last spring we had a full-bodied apparition walk in the room and sit down with us, which was really exciting. So it all depends on location and circumstances, and if there really are spirits on location that are wanting to play with us.
What area do you work in primarily?
We primarily cover western Colorado and eastern Utah. Okay. And so we tend to cover the areas where the big cities can't. We don't cover Denver, we don't cover Salt Lake, but we cover everything in between.
And do you find that you get a lot more spirit activity from people from like the cowboy days or the Native Americans? Do you come across that very often?
We come across Native American activity more so than we would Wild West activity. We also have a lot of abandoned coal mines and some ghost towns from those, from the gold and silver rush.
Have you done anything at Leadville?
No, we haven't done Leadville. Our sister team over on the eastern slope, FRAPS, the Frontier Analytical, or Front Range Analytical Paranormal Society.
Yeah, you guys have a lot of words in
That's
these titles.
That's a mouthful.
While we're still talking with the Ghostbuster gals, I don't want to lose you guys. I want to bring you back into the conversation. Hey, when you hear about a scary or an angry entity, then is your ghost busting different in terms of getting that out of the home?
For us, it is. I also want to make a distinction that I think is really important because I know you have ghost hunters on, and there's a lot of ghost hunting shows, and that's really kind of neat. But the difference between us and what they do is we know that ghosts are everywhere, and we're trying to rescue them. Mm-hmm. We know that ghosts are lost, they're trapped, they're stuck, and they can't find the way home by themselves, usually. And so we come along and do that. And it's one of the reasons in our book we put a do-it-yourself ghost-busting guide, so that when people do come across ghosts, they can understand these are people. Mm-hmm. You know, these are people that had lives, and they are trapped where they are, and they're unable to evolve. So the book is designed to help people with their ghost situation.
And one of your messages right out the bat is don't be afraid.
Exactly.
Yeah?
Yeah, because fear, there are ghosts out there that feed on fear.
That's true.
Absolutely.
Especially if they were kind of rotten in their real life, you know, and they were tyrants and bullies and you know, just mean people. They carry that personality with them into the in-between world, and they feed on that fear. They love to scare you. So Laura Lee and I laugh. We do a lot of laughing.
Wouldn't you call those people like low energy spirits?
Yes.
That's what that's how I define them as well.
The number is 888-KFWB-980. I want you to call in because we have a few moments left here for the show. Your chance to talk to these great experts from all over in terms of ghost investigating, recording ghost sounds and images, speaking to ghosts, getting rid of ghosts. 888-539-2980. Let's tell everybody about your website, Ghostbuster Gals, because I know you had an event to go to. It's gotghost2.com, right?
Yes, gotghost2.com.
And that's where we can find your guide.
And the other thing I want people to know that our book has been endorsed by James von Prague, who did The Ghost Whisperer, Dannion Brinkley.
Oh, right.
Yep,
Uh-huh.
He's been dead 3 times, and Brad Steiger, who's kind of like the king of paranormal.
Well, the fact that there are so many of these ghost shows that you see, whether it's a documentary or, you know, a drama, does that seem to make those of us who are, you know, the layperson smarter in terms of encountering ghosts, or does it make us, you know, dumber because now we're just thinking like Hollywood? What do you think, Barry?
Yeah, I don't know. I think that watching the shows, you know, you have to remember Hollywood is Hollywood, and they're going to embellish things. But, you know, there is a certain degree. I don't really watch a lot of these shows, but I know there's a certain degree of realism put into some of the shows. They base a lot of the things that happen, but you have to realize there's a lot of things that aren't. So I think that people that want to know what happens in real haunting should do a lot more research, you know, reading.
I agree with that too. I've had people steal my stories out of my books for years and spook them up, as I put it in Hollywood.
Oh, no.
They want to make it scarier, and it's really not, you know, as scary. But I think sometimes some of the stories are scary because they're real.
Well, that is totally Hollywood. I mean, from the news to the movies to the shows, we got to make it sensational,
exactly.
Right? Never happened here on Home Wizards.
No.
You're listening to the best in home improvement. Of course, Cindy Dole here. You can call in because the fun continues. We have these great experts here to help you figure out, is your home haunted? Has it ever been? And what do you do? 888-539-2980. Cindy Dole. We're back in just a bit.
Shrouded in a dark disguise,
they pretend to terrorize.